little bit of technical issues trying to do my stream through Facebook as well as YouTube, but I hope that everything is coming along with you just fine, as well as that you are having a great afternoon and Father's Day. And just wanted to let you guys know that I am getting into another live stream where I only have a couple questions here that we're going to cover. It looks like it's really just kind of going back again with quadratics. So we're going to have the finding the roots as well as solving. So two different type of quadratic equations that we're going to go through. And then also the name of the stream is to kind of study or not. So I wanted to kind of cover into those comments to kind of see how that is working in there for you guys. But already in the chat, I've seen Corbin, Math Legend, Ezekiel. Good to see everybody on there. Thank you guys so much. For those of you that have also posted your questions, or have joined into the chat so far, I really, really do appreciate it. And I always wanted to go ahead and see how I can play around with getting into, my live studio. I know I can go ahead and work with my Facebook, and I keep on getting a little bit off with that. But either way, guys, I am just going to go ahead and get started with the chat, and I will be working out. And the reason why I wanted to let you guys know, or the reason why I've been working with doing some things with Facebook as well as with YouTube, is because I will be teaching. I'm going to get started for my next school year into July, even though I really don't know how everything is going to play out this upcoming year. I am going to start preparing my students, and for those of you that are taking pre-calculus, to get ready for pre-calculus. Now, that kind of comes into the question, well, does that mean that I am all for students studying over the summer? And to actually answer your question quickly and briefly and to the point, no, I am not. I think that it is very important that students take time to debrief from the school year, take time to get away from really the formal education and to do some other things to really like stretch their brain, get creative, challenge yourself in different areas of life. I really think that the more well-rounded that students are, that the better they're going to be in being able to adapt later on in life. However, as a teacher, I am not promoting that students don't do any work throughout the summer, but I really do want to make sure that students are also go ahead and doing work when it needs to be done. So when do I kind of think about, when should students need to be doing work? Well, this COVID did kind of throw a wrench into everything. And so obviously I know a lot of students are exiting last year being underprepared for their upcoming school year. So some students might need to be spending a little bit more time preparing for their next class. Or if they know they're taking a class that's going to be a little bit more of a stretch for them upcoming year, and maybe just math doesn't come as easier for them. But I still think the main objective when you are taking time off is to really take time off. One of the things that I do is I do a lot, I work really hard, obviously, and I spend time, I come home from school, and I'll play with my children. And then at nighttime, I'm usually, working again. So I really try to make sure that, when I am not doing schoolwork, that I am purely focused on what I am doing and not trying to, always be doing something with math, because I really want to have my brain turn off so I can focus on other things. And then when it's time for me to be doing math, to really kind of switch gears and be 100% focused in that. And that's where I kind of treat, at least in my school year, is going to be the kind of the summer assignment. Once really July starts, I'm now thinking of next school year. So up until this June, I'm going to be going on vacation. I am not really thinking about everything the school year. I am just trying to relax and enjoy myself. And even in July, though, I'm only going to be doing one live stream. I'll still be doing my general live stream, but I'm going to do one extra live stream to help students prepare for pre-calculus. And, I think that students really need to, as they're preparing for the school year, not to start the brand new school year like, oh, I forgot everything. I didn't do anything. But yeah, to start slowly incorporating a lot of that preparation into the upcoming school year. Because yeah, we don't want students to be walking in and totally have forgotten everything that they went through. But in the same respect, you also want to not be stressed out thinking that the summer is going to be something that you need to catch up to where everybody was at, or that you need to relearn a whole class, over through the summer. But I really think as the school year approaches, that you just start doing, little by little. And so that's what I'm going to do for July. I'm just going to do a live stream, and I'm going to have some work that I'll be providing to my students if they are able to do them or decide to do it as not. And then as we get closer and closer to the school year, we will start ramping up those efforts, and I'll be doing more and more activities. And you guys are going to go and see that on the channel as well. So yeah, that's where I kind of stand. I really think it is important that students stay away from doing some schoolwork for the summer. I really do think that is where a lot of my growth came as a student, and also a lot of growth that I've seen from other students, not trying to feel like you are zeroed in, that you have to do so much schoolwork over the summer. However, I know every situation is different. Some students need to retake a class or anything like that. That's a different scenario that I'm talking about. But I think in the overall general student, as we start getting to the school year, though, that is now you should start opening up those books or turning on those videos or start doing that work and slowly start incorporating yourself, getting prepared into the school year. So I guess my answer is kind of a half answer in there from there. But I really think, at least in our school system, June, I say no. July, yes. August, our school basically starts. So we're kind of in from there. But, thank you very much. Another super chat. Bless you. Thank you so much. I can't. Oh, you know what? And I checked in the pronunciation, and I meant to go back over it so I could pronounce your name again correctly. But thank you so much. Are you also doing live streams on YouTube? Yes, I am on YouTube, and I am also doing it on Facebook. It says that I'm going through on there. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. It really does help out. And also, I want to let everybody know that for the members, you have allowed me to focus on my time. You guys will see a new video coming up for this week. So this video is based on the people that have been membership, or at least supporting me through the memberships, have allowed me to invest a little bit in my channel, and getting some new lighting, getting some new setups, and also paying for some editing that I was able to do. So that allowed me to kind of create a little bit more of a studio audience here in my in this little room. So in my room, I'll have to do a little tour for you guys. Definitely on the, maybe on YouTube or on Instagram, I'll give you guys a little bit of a tour here. But yeah, I basically have 3 different studios in one little room. So it's kind of crazy. It's a little bit packed. But really thank you so much for all of you guys that have been members, because you are the reason that I was able to invest some of that money into making some more content. And then I will have a new video coming up. I'm not super pleased with it. I think it is pretty good video compared to, some of the other videos that I've done in my class, or just when I'm teaching. But it is, but yeah, I still have some work to do. I'm just not very natural teaching or doing a recorded video, right? I feel very natural doing a live stream, talking to you just like this, and doing math in front of you on a little screen with my tablet. I feel very natural talking in front of a classroom of students and having myself being recorded. But having just me sitting in a room all by myself and recording it and then just doing a math problem is really kind of weird, and I don't feel natural for that. But yeah, so it is pretty cool from now. Oh, well, thank you very much, Veronica. That's very nice. And also another one. Also, you do social statistics 10. That will be my class. Veronica, well, thank you so much. I'm hoping that super chat was definitely based on a lot of the help that I've given you, been able to give you so far, because I apologize. I have not taught statistics. So as far as a future investment for the super chat, I won't be able to do much help. I do have a little bit of statistics on my channel, but it's not something that I have been able to focus on in my coursework, nor have I actually taught as a teacher. So I'd probably say my upcoming content will probably not be as beneficial. Maybe some of the older stuff that I have in statistics might be a little beneficial, but I'm assuming probably the social statistics you'll be getting a little bit past everything from there. Well, thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm glad at least a lot of my algebra videos were able to help you out. And thank you again for that super chat. I greatly appreciate it. But I see you, the Raging Chicken. Seated Samuel. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Yes, Laura, my wife, is going to be moderating you guys. So please make sure you guys are keeping this a nice, lovely stream. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into solving these three problems. So again, I'm going to find the roots here of this quadratic. This one's set equal to 0. This one has variables on both sides. And then I'm going to talk about strategy for doing well in trig. And yeah, that's my crappy handwork. Sorry about that. And then if you guys have actually any other questions, I don't know if any of you guys are taking classes currently at the moment. But once I'm done with these three problems, if I do have a little bit more time, I'll be more than happy to maybe answer some of your guys' additional questions. So please don't need to spam. We definitely don't need you guys to just keep on throwing out your questions. Wait till I'm done, and then obviously I'll interact a little bit more with you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and focus on getting these math problems done, and then I will come back with you guys. Okay, so this was sent to Michael and given just finding the roots. So the first time when I see a quadratic, I always want to think of factoring, because factoring is going to be the easiest way and quickest way for me to be able to identify the roots. So when I'm looking at this, I'd say, all right, well, let's, maybe see if I could factor this. That'd be x. And then I'm looking at what two numbers multiply to give me 7. Well, you could think about this. If I put a 7 here and a positive 1 here, and actually I didn't even try to work this out, but this actually works out. So your only other option that you could have done would have been 2x plus 1 and x plus 7. Okay, now I knew this was not the answer. This is the one that I originally came to my head, was because I saw that 2x times 7 gives you 14. So remember, factoring is just taking an expression and rewriting it as a product. Now, if you remember, when we multiply binomials, we have to apply distributive property, meaning everything inside of the binomial needs to be multiplied by everything on the other one. So you're going to have what we call the first terms and the last terms, right? So we have 2x times x, that's 2x squared. We have 1 times 7, which is positive 7, right? So the first and last terms, those are covered with the 2x and x and the 7 and 1. The main thing comes in with this inner and the outer. So when I multiply 1 times x, I get x, and 7x times 7, that gives me 14x. Well, you can see, obviously, when you combine those, that's 2x squared plus 15x plus 7. That one doesn't work, right? You can see that's not the same answer. So that is an incorrect factoring. And again, if something's not factorable, then you're going to want to use the quadratic formula. But what I did was I recognized that this is going to have the same first and last terms. It's going to have 2x squared, and it's going to have a 7. But then what I did is I did the inner and the outer. So I did 7 times x, which is 7x, and then 2x times 1, which is 2x. Well, 7x plus 2x is 9x. So you can see this is the factored form. Now that we have the factored form, we can go ahead and apply the zero product property. Okay. And then we can just go ahead and solve to find the roots, which is basically going to be like your building blocks here of our equation. So our roots here are going to be x equals -7/2 and x equals -1. All right, into the next question, which is solving. So the important thing that we did in this last problem was we worked into factoring. And the reason why we could use factoring was because we had the expression equal to 0. And the important point with that, because once you have an expression that's factored, or once you have a product equal to 0, you can apply the zero product property. Basically set each of these factors equal to 0. So we can't do that right now. Like, yeah, you could say, oh, I can factor out an x. You can factor out an x, but that's not but you can't apply the zero product property from there either. So what we first want to do when we're solving a quadratic or finding the roots or finding the solutions or the zeros, we're going to want to make sure it's set equal to 0. So we're going to set everything to the same side, so therefore it's equal to 0. So I will subtract a 3x, and I'll subtract a 1. Okay, so that's going to leave us now with 5x squared. X minus 3x is a negative 2x. Minus 1 equals 0. And then we have 5 squared minus 2x minus 1 equals 0. And now again, we want to look into factoring, right? So let's go and see if this is factorable. So we have 5x times x. And let's see minus 1. So, I mean, if it's minus 1, it's going to be a plus 1 or a minus 1. Right? So it's either going to be 5x plus 1 or x minus 1. So we only have two options, right? There's not a ton of options. But you can see no matter what way that if it's positive or negative, whenever I do the outer and the inner, they're never going to add up to a negative 2x because the difference between 5x and x is 4. So they're never going to add into there. So now I'm going to need to look into the quadratic formula because these are non-factorable. Now, before I do the quadratic formula, I always like to do the discriminant, b squared minus 4 times a times c. So again, that's going to be from ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So therefore, I'll have a negative 2 20 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 1. Okay, so that's going to be 4, and therefore this is going to be plus 20, so that's going to be 24. Okay, so that is going to be my discriminant, and if you remember from the quadratic formula, the discriminant is what is under the radical. So the quadratic formula is x equals opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Right? So you can see I just figured out the square root. And the reason why I like to do the discriminant first is because what if this number was negative? If that number was negative, then there'd be no real solutions. I wouldn't need to actually solve it. I could just say there's no real solutions there. But now we have it's 24, and so we can go ahead and simplify that a little bit further. But before we do that, let's just go and fill in everything else. So it's going to be opposite of b, so that's going to be 2 plus or minus the square root of 24 all over 2 times a. So that's going to be 10, right? Or let's just do 2 times 5. Okay, so now we can simplify the square root of 24. Kind of do this over here. Okay, square root of 24, remember, can be broken down into, let's see, that'd be 4 times 6. Square root of 4 is 2 times square root of 6. So then we have x equals 2 plus or minus, let's see, that's going to be 2 square root of 6 all over 10. You can distribute that. So that'd be, you can distribute that 10. So it'd be 2 over 10 plus or minus 2 square root of 6 over 10. And then obviously, guys, you could rewrite this one more time. You could simplify that to plus or minus, let's see, a square root of 6 over 5. And that'd be a final simplified answer. So hopefully that helps in from there. And yes. All right, so for the last one, it says the strategy for doing well in trig. So I'm not really sure if there's a special strategy, I would say just for trigonometry. I think the general advice that kind of came to my brain is like, one is I think it's really important that when you are working through trig or any other course, that is one, making sure you have the foundation of your understanding. So, you know, making sure that you understand the general algebraic principles that are going to be applied in your class. So a lot of times, you know, in a textbook or even with your, you know, teacher, if they're giving you like a summer assignment, like make sure you do that. Make sure you feel really, really comfortable with the basics. You know, when I'm giving my students this chapter, I mean, it is without fail. When students start to struggle, the first thing I always ask them, did you do the pre-chapter work? And every single time the student's like, nope, did not do the work. Well, of course you're going to struggle in this chapter if you did not do that work or you did not know how to do the work. Or, you know, even worse, the student's like, well, yeah, I didn't know how to do that work. Well, of course you're going to struggle with this chapter, right? There's the pre-work that I give my students is not stuff that they're going to learn. It's stuff that they should know from their previous courses that I need them to be efficient at and to be successful in the current chapter. So to give you kind of some tips is, So just make sure you have the foundation, okay? And again, that could just be, getting in with your previous course, even if you're like, man, whatever my previous course, just go back and review some of that stuff, right? It doesn't need to be done every day during the summer, but before you start your new course, like spend a couple hours or a couple days of the week going through that material, making sure that you really understand what you're doing, right? There's a difference between doing something and getting a good grade on a test and actually knowing why you're doing it and how to do it again. So just review yourself on that stuff. The other thing I'd say is just to make sure you know how to get help, right? There's going to be times in every math class that you are going to struggle, unless obviously math is something that comes very easy to you, but you probably wouldn't write in this question to me if that was the case. So just make sure you know how to get help. And what I mean by getting help is, not just with your teacher or the book or online or tutors or anything like that, but, make sure you have a strategy, like have people to do your homework that you do your homework with, have people that you can study with. When I started getting to advanced mathematics, I've said this multiple times, but like my saving grace was that I had people I could study with and that they helped me. And I know I helped them understand the material better. And if it wasn't for that consistency of studying with other people, I'm not sure if I would have been able to have the determination to keep on working through, because, it also makes you feel a little bit better. Like when you're struggling in math, right? It's, I've been there. Like it's sometimes embarrassing. Sometimes you think like you're the only person that doesn't understand something and you don't want to ask a question because you don't want to feel stupid. Right? So I think it's important that when you are with other people, you realize that, oh, I'm actually not alone. That's actually not a stupid question. They actually don't understand that. And you know what? Maybe what if it is? Let's just say it is a stupid question. It is an easy question. And you feel like an idiot even saying it to your friend or the couple people you're studying with. But guess what? Once you ask it, you get over it very, very quickly, because it's not like in front of this whole class that, everybody thinks like, oh, the teacher is going to ridicule you and everybody's going to laugh at you. And, all the stress and pressure of something that typically never happens. But yeah, when you're just with like, people that you're studying with, like it's not that big of a deal and you get over it as well. And I'd just say the last thing is just to really kind of like practice, make sure, obviously I get a little bit more into this, but when you're, doing your work and everything like that, when you're learning something new, just practice the material, go back over it. Once you do your homework, I think everybody, has this false sense of once you have your homework done, you're like, oh, I'm done, right? I did my homework. I got my grade. No, go back over that homework. Do it again, right? Make sure you understand what you're doing. Like go back through your test, do your test again. Like go back through those problems to really get your brain to understand what you are doing. Because I think a lot of people, the reason why they're like, oh, I forget things so easily. I don't remember how I did that. Well, yeah, you got to go back over that stuff, right? And it doesn't need to be 5 hours every night. Like spend 15, 20 minutes a day just going back and reviewing your work, maybe redoing some problems that you previously did so you don't forget why you were doing things, because that is how your brain makes connections. And when you have those connections and that foundations, it makes everything easier for you to be able to do them later. But if you are going to spam, I am not going to be answering your questions. So let's not spam, guys, and we will try to answer any of your questions. So, Frida, if it helped you me every single day, well, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Let's go and see. I wanted to get that. All right, guys. Well, yeah, that is basically it for that I was going to have for my live stream, but I am more than happy to answer some of your guys' questions that you had. But even though I just wanted to make sure... No, that was... But yeah, so if you guys do have any other questions that you'd like me to add, yeah. Z hours are done. I forgot from there. Oh.
Sal.
Either way. All right. So let's go ahead and, yeah, I think it was Z How. Anyway, thank you so much for that super chat. I wanted to look back over back and from there. All right, so let's go ahead and see. I see Jamie, I see Frida, I see Christopher, I see Thomas, I see Portlet, Suzuki, I believe. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it possible to add the FOIL method with radicals? Sure, I can do one of those problems. Absolutely. Let's do a fun one. So 1 minus the square root of 2. And how about 3 radical 3 plus square root of 5? How's that one sound? That one sounds fun. Tips on solving word problems. Yeah, I can definitely do that. Tips for word problems. Ugh. Uh-oh, I think I might have made a mistake now. And now ask the questions to come out. Oh, boy. I wanted to see, let's go back to that live studio. And from there, I don't know why. No, I don't want that. No, not that one. Yeah, because I think that only shows on from there after this one. It's weird. Okay. All right, after this one, well, I guess maybe I will check. Let me see, because this does allow me to do that. But yes, I will go ahead and get into those. All right. Could you have solved that earlier problem by factoring by grouping? I mean, this one, you could have broken it down by factoring by grouping if you would have. This one was, I mean, I guess it was factorable across irrational numbers. It wouldn't have been very nice. I'd have to go and look at this one. But yeah, you could use the grouping technique. 2x squared plus, you could do 7x plus x plus 1 equals 0, I believe. Maybe something like that. And then, yes, and then I just wanted to always show, what is the formula for a parabola? Math legend. Thank you. So I want to kind of see how that shows up or see what that does for 927 roughly. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, that's just a preview. Okay, so that's not going to show up. No worries. I was playing around with something. I think we should push students to understand that math just explains our physical and theoretical world on paper, and we use it every day. Yeah, Michael, I totally agree. I think one of the problems though that we have is, at least in the math educational world, is really kind of drawing that conclusions for students as far as, the reasons being why students need to be learning, math. And I think what math has really kind of turned into the last 11 years is doing well for tests and doing well for certain classes, not really having that direct approach of like thinking, understanding, creativity, problem solving, and applications, and then how that applies to real life. It's really been a lot of the processes that we've done is really just kind of for students to advance, and really students don't even get to understand the applications of the math that they are doing unless they really get to a certain level. And so a lot of students have lost the passion for mathematics because they've just been, really programmed to like do these math problems that they don't have any of those connections to, kind of like what you were saying. And then they just kind of treat math as like this rule fund. And if you don't understand it, then you're not good at math. And if you're not good at math, then you need to go something that doesn't take, doesn't have anything math applied to it. And people can be like really good math thinkers, but just not really like the way that math is kind of taught and explained to them. And, if they can't make these connections of like why they're learning this, and how to be enthused and like curious about why things work, then yeah, it's going to steer them away from mathematics. I totally agree. Mathland, just for the formula of parabola, and I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of different formulas for the parabola. You have the standard form, you have vertex and vertex form, you have a general form. So there's a lot of different ones that we can go through. 25 equals, I think that was divided by 25 equals 1. Unique route, I see your question. I'm not sure. I'm assuming you wanted me to like graph that or something like that. Maybe I can do that since I saw your question. All right. But guys, I'm going to have to shut this off because, again, remember when you guys have this opportunity to ask questions for my live streams, I go live every single Sunday at 9 p.m. Obviously, if you're new to my stream, I go every Sunday. I go live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. And I also have a word chat, or I have the ability for you guys to submit your questions into me in the description below. So in the description below, there is a link for a Google chat that you guys can submit your questions. I do not look at that link though until Sunday. So please do not think that you're going to get a same day turnaround by submitting a question. That is just where I take the questions that I can answer over my live stream. So if you would like me to submit a question on the live stream, then please go ahead and submit it there. If you are looking for something a little bit more of like quicker feedback, then I also have a link to my Discord server that you can go ahead and join. And that also has people that are in all walks of life on mathematics, from algebra 1 to calculus and beyond, there to kind of help you out with your problems. So, submit a question, help other people with their question. And again, guys, it's really a community designed for you guys to help each other out with your math. And I know obviously with the summertime, there's not a lot of people that are asking a lot of questions. So if you do have something that you need help with, or if you want to help some other people, it's pretty manageable. And at this moment, I really kind of started this off once we kind of had the COVID and everything was kind of up in the air. So we'll see how everything goes. I'm working on some different ways to organize all of that and for this upcoming school year. So therefore it can be manageable for you guys to get help as well as to help each other. All right. Yeah. And then, and a lot of you are actually taking a summer math class, so yeah, it is available for you guys to be able to do that as well. Christopher, I don't know the app's names. I'm not sure, but I do have, Discord is the Lisa server that I was going to use, but it's in my description. All right. And Andreas, I don't have anything. I do have some older videos on the applications of differentiation, but I won't be able to do anything. It's been a while. I'm not teaching calculus here, so I just need probably a little bit more time to prepare for that. So I'd probably just recommend going back and looking through my content that I have on my playlist on my channel, and that will have some of the stuff available for you guys there. All right, so let's go ahead and knock these 3 questions out real quick. All right, so the first one again is just going back to this distributive property, and so I just made this one up. So I just wanted to kind of cover a couple things. So remember, distributive property, first, outer, inner, last, you can think about this as FOIL or just multiplying everything by everything. So let's go and do this first one. 1 times 3 square root of 3. Well, that's going to be 3 square root of 3. 1 times square root of 5 is going to be the square root of 5. Then let's do the negative 2. Negative 2 times 3 square root of 3. Now again, remember when you are multiplying radicals, you multiply the radicands, the number inside the radical, times the number inside the radical. So the number outside the radical, you're going to multiply to the number outside the radical. So you might not say there's nothing in front here, but it is really technically a negative 1. So negative 1 times 3 is going to be a negative 3. Square root of 2 times square root of 3 is going to be a square root of 6. And then here I'll have a negative 1 times 1, so that's going to be a negative. And then square root of 2 times 5 is going to be a square root of 10. So again, just remember you're multiplying the radicands. And when you have numbers outside, you would multiply those numbers outside. Then as far as simplifying, you can only combine radicals that have the same radicand. So if the number under the radical is not the same, you cannot add or subtract them. But if you were going to do that, for instance, like 3 square root of 2 minus the square root of 2, that is going to equal 2 square root of 2, right? So you can think of what you're basically doing is kind of like how 3x minus x is 2x, right? So you're doing 3 minus 1 square root of 2. Okay, so just make sure you're going to apply those operations to your numbers, to your coefficients of your radicals. But again, that only works here is when those radicals are the same, or the radicands are the same. In this case, we do not have any of them, so therefore we're just going to leave it as is. All right, tips for solving word problems. Yes, I would just say, again, like a word problem, guys, is just another math problem with words. So just get rid of the words is the easiest way. So, draw a picture, right? Identify equations. Like you need to identify, if they're not already there, identify your equations and your variables, or define your variables. Right? And then also, like, I'm going to kind of just write check work because it's very simple. But what I mean by check work, like, understand, like, what is it you're trying to solve, right? So a lot of times word problems can be confusing because people might be given information that is, not going to help them what they're actually looking for. Or they can give equation that they need to create their own equations. So draw a picture. A lot of times you need that visual aspect is going to be helpful. Create your equations, define your variables, like what does X represent? What does R represent? Like whatever your variables you need to, then identify them. And then what I mean by check work, like, is identify, like, what is it you are solving for, right? When you're doing all this work, and I can't even tell you how many times this has happened, when myself has been doing a problem, or just when I've been checking other students' work, they'll set an equation, they'll define their variables, and they'll go ahead and solve it. But they're not actually solving the question that is actually being asked. So make sure you're checking the work that you're creating. Make sure you're answering the question that is being asked. Look at the problem. Are you answering the question that you're supposed to be answering? And then also, like, once you answer the question, does it make sense, right? Is something supposed to be like 5 feet and you got 5,000 feet? So just make sure things work and make sense. And those are just some quick little tips for you. And then last but not least, I'll just kind of do this, this ellipse problem. So a couple things to remember for the ellipse. Whatever the larger number is, that is going to be your a squared. The smaller number is going to be your b squared. Remember, a is the distance from your center to your vertices. B is going to be the distance from your center to your co-vertices. So the standard form here is going to be x minus h quantity squared over a squared plus y minus k quantity squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, so you can see this is equal to 1. So now I can identify my a and my b. But I also need to identify my c, which is going to give me my foci. So that is going to be c squared equals a squared minus b squared. Okay, and so let's see here. No, yeah, c squared. Yes, okay. So c squared in this case is going to be 169 minus 25. C squared is going to equal 144. So therefore, c is going to equal plus or minus, well, let's just do 12. We're not going to do the plus or minus. I'm not going to get through that. So c is going to equal 12. All right, so now let's go ahead and graph our information so we can identify everything. So remember, when your a squared is under your x, that means you're going to have a horizontal major axis. H and k represent the center. Since there is no h and k here, right, there's no numbers, so therefore we know they're going to be 0. So meaning my center of this ellipse is going to be at 0, 0. Okay, a is going to equal 13. B is going to equal 5. Again, the major axis or the vertices are going to be along the major axis. And again, since my a squared is under x, it's going to be a horizontal major axis. So therefore, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that is going to be my vertices. So we can even write those out there. We can say the vertices is going to be plus or minus 13, 0. Because there's 2 of them, right? There's your center. I guess I should write that in there. Center is going to be at 0, 0. We can do our co-vertices. Well, again, that's going to be on the what we call our minor axis, which is perpendicular to our major axis. So that's going to be vertical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's your co-vertices. And that's going to be 0, plus or minus 5. And then last but not least, guys, is our foci, which you see is going to be 12. So if our vertices were at 13, our foci here is going to be at 12. So let's put a little 12 there. And your foci also lies on your major axis as well. I'm like having trouble spelling here. Okay. So foci is going to be plus or minus 12, 0. And then I can just go ahead and do a nice little sketch, which I'll just badger really badly, but hopefully you guys can now see that there is my problem from that. All right. Whew, that was enough. Yes, and Z, thank you so much. That was very, very awesome for you guys. And I can't believe, wow, even for that long, you still didn't even keep your super chat on there? I can't believe that. That was amazing. It was awesome for you guys. Thank you so much. And TTV, the remainder theorem is, just to kind of give you something, you guys are getting it. So how much time do I got? All right, I got a little bit more time. So the remainder theorem is basically, I believe actually, yeah, if you take the 0 and you plug it into the polynomial, you evaluate the function for that. Whatever that value is will be the remainder of your function. So if you have a 0 and you plug it in, or if you have a potential 0, you plug it in, that will be the remainder of there. So if I have a function, let's say like f of x equals, I don't know, 7x squared minus 13x plus 5, and I say, what is f of 1? Let's say I get 13. Well, if I was to divide, so if f of 1 is a 0, that means x minus 1 is a factor, right? So if I was to divide x minus 1 into f of x, I would have a remainder of 13. That's basically what the remainder theorem says in a non-mathematical portion here. How can I differentiate between multiplying and dividing real numbers? I'm not sure what you mean by that. How to differentiate between multiplying and dividing. I mean, multiplying by a fraction is really the same thing as dividing. So I'm not sure what you were looking for on that. And when your domain is the set of all, let's try this. When your domain is a set of all real numbers, does it mean to infinity? I have to kind of take a look in. I mean, infinity is not a number. So when you're talking about all real numbers is, I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure how the best way to answer that, like mathematically correct. But you got to think like infinity is not a number, right? So all real numbers is basically like, yes, as you keep on getting larger and larger real numbers, like it's going to be approaching infinity. And as you get smaller and smaller real numbers, it's going to be approaching infinity. But I'm not really sure if you meant like it would be exactly infinity from on there. That's not really the idea of that for that. And then how do you feel about all of your subs? I guess the same as I feel as far as when I got to my other milestone. So yeah, I'm almost close to 500,000, which is awesome. And really, really cool, especially because it doesn't feel that long ago that I was really chasing like the big 100,000. And I think really kind of getting into the first 100,000 was like that big milestone. It really, really was. And it kind of seemed like everything was just always working against, getting up to 100,000. And then once you got up to 100,000, it kind of seems like everything kind of worked a little bit easier. I think you just kind of get a little bit more momentum. And also you kind of get a little bit more notoriety for reaching that milestone. And so things make it feel like a little bit easier. And from that point, but yeah, I mean, as far as from that, nothing too much is challenging. I mean, I don't take too much track into the subscribers. I do a lot of things that is, that I think are not like joined to me getting new subscribers. However, I will let you guys know that I just said I'm not really that interested in like joining a whole bunch of subscribers, but I will let you guys know that one of the things I've actually been thinking about doing is opening up some free tutoring contests for those of you that are interested for that. So one of the things is to, kind of get people to subscribe to my channel and let them kind of know what I'm doing. I mean, obviously I appreciate you guys joining me for a live stream. A lot of you guys have been on a lot of my live streams and giving me super chats, which is like amazing. And thank you. I cannot thank you enough for all of that. So one of the things I want to do is also like give back, to you guys for supporting me. For those of you that are in my memberships, I'm going to have an opportunity for you guys to support other students, with these private live streams where basically I'll just take on students for free and give them a little tutoring session. And because I know a lot of people always reach out to me, they're like, how can I get tutored by you? And the reality is I do not have time to become a tutor, a private tutor. It's something I could do, I guess, right? I could quit my job and then just work with, select individuals, but that doesn't really appeal to me. I like teaching inside the classroom. I like having my 140 students. And then I also like interacting with you guys online, and so that gives me a lot of opportunity to interact with a lot of different people. And so when you just do something that's just private tutoring, you have that one-to-one connection, which is awesome. But yeah, outside of that, it's there's really not much left in addition to that. So I don't see that as like something I want, like I'm going to go in that direction, but I definitely want to start doing that on my channel of just giving people a little bit of that opportunity for the one-on-one. I mean, I do a private live stream for my members once a month, and to try to get a little bit more of an intimate session for the live stream Math Help, where it's not just like tons of chat going on and everything like that. But yeah, so those are some things that are going to be coming down, and it will kind of be like a little bit of contest, kind of driven, people choosing some people randomly and so on and so forth. So we'll kind of go from there, guys. I'll definitely be letting you guys know from that. Do you know what upcoming year is going to look like for you yet? No, I do not know. I think we're going to try to go back to being everything that it was normal. And I think we're just going to kind of play it by ear, see how things go from there. So kind of crazy, but yeah, I think that's the way things are going to be done. So either way, you're back to where you're to get where, yes, I had to practice a lot of math. And again, when you guys watch me do a live stream, you're like, oh, he like understands that. Like, it makes it look so easy. And that's because I've done these problems a ton of times as a student as well as a teacher. So as you guys are working through and you maybe get stuck on something, or you are struggling with the problem, and it doesn't have to be math, guys. It can be anything. Don't compare yourself to somebody else that makes it look like they're doing it easier, or they have an easier time doing it. Focus on yourself and keep on working at it, because yeah, the more you do it, the easier and faster it is going to come. But otherwise, guys, again, thank you so much for joining on the live stream. I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Father's Day, and I will catch with you guys next week. All right. Peace out.